Imagine this. It's 3 a.m., the room is dark, your phone screen is black, and there's nothing left to distract you from the thoughts you've been avoiding all day. Memories, regrets, fears about the future, that heavy, sinking feeling in your chest. Most of us treat that darkness like an enemy, something to escape with noise, scrolling, or sleep. But what if that darkness isn't just emptiness? What if it's a doorway? In this video, we're going to explore a radical idea. There are actually two different kinds of darkness in your life, and learning to work with both of them can change everything: your relationships, your mental health, even your sense of purpose. If you've ever felt stuck, lost, burnt out, or quietly collapsing on the inside while holding it together on the outside, stay with me. This might reframe your entire story. In this video, we're unpacking using darkness for growth by breaking it into two clear types: the darkness you walk into on purpose and the darkness that crashes into your life without permission. We'll look at what each one really is, how to recognize which one you're in, and practical ways to turn both into fuel instead of paralysis. This isn't about romanticizing suffering or pretending everything happens for a reason. It's about learning to work with what's already here, so it doesn't quietly run your life from the shadows. If personal growth, psychology, and honest inner work are your thing, you're in the right place. And if you find value in videos like this, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss new deep dives. Stay with me until the end. We'll finish with specific questions and practices you can start using tonight, even in your own 3 a.m. moments. Let's start by naming the first type of darkness, the darkness you choose. This is when you deliberately turn toward uncomfortable truths about your past, your patterns, your fears, your desires. It can look like going to therapy, journaling honestly instead of performatively, sitting in meditation long enough for the noise to settle, or having that brutally honest conversation you've avoided for years. Chosen darkness isn't dramatic. It's quiet, intentional, and often invisible to other people. You might look fine on the outside while inside you're dismantling old identities and beliefs. This kind of darkness is like entering a tunnel with a flashlight. You may not see the exit yet, but you walked in knowingly because you're tired of repeating the same cycles. In this segment, I want you to think of one area of your life where you felt an inner nudge to finally face what you've been postponing. The second type of darkness is the darkness that chooses you. You don't schedule it. You don't want it. It arrives as loss, betrayal, burnout, illness, a breakup, a layoff, a global crisis. Those seasons where it feels like the ground beneath your life gives way. In this kind of darkness, you're not the one walking into a tunnel. It's more like the lights suddenly go out while you're in the middle of your day. You didn't sign up for this, and because of that, it often feels unfair, senseless, or overwhelming. But here's the paradox. While you didn't choose this darkness, you still have agency in how you respond to it. You can resist, numb, and deny, or you can slowly, gently ask, what is this demanding I learn? Who can I become because of this? Not in a forced positive way, but in a grounded, realistic, one step at a time way. Let's dive deeper into chosen darkness because this is where a lot of growth work actually starts. Think of chosen darkness as voluntary discomfort with a purpose. You agree to feel what you've been avoiding so it no longer controls you. For example, you might choose to revisit a painful memory in therapy, not to re-traumatize yourself, but to finally integrate it. You might decide to sit still for 10 minutes a day, not because meditation feels good, but because you're curious about what lies underneath your constant distractions. You might spend a weekend alone without your usual numbing habits to listen for what your life has been trying to tell you. This kind of darkness builds psychological muscle. Every time you tolerate a bit more truth, your capacity to hold reality without collapsing or attacking yourself grows stronger and more stable. Chosen darkness also shows up in shadow work, the process of meeting the parts of yourself you've rejected or hidden. Maybe you see yourself as the strong one and can't tolerate your own vulnerability. Maybe you've built an identity around being nice and ignore your anger until it leaks out in passive-aggressive ways. Choosing darkness means saying, okay, I'm willing to sit with my jealousy, my envy, my neediness, my rage, my pettiness, not to indulge them, but to understand them. Because what you refuse to own in yourself, you will project onto others. The more you consciously enter this inner dark room, the less likely it is to sabotage your relationships and decisions from behind the scenes. This is uncomfortable work, but it's also incredibly liberating. You stop needing to pretend you're only light. You can be human, messy, complex, contradictory, and still fundamentally worthy. Now let's talk about the darkness that chooses you. The unplanned, unwelcome seasons. The instinctive reactions here are understandable. Numb out, distract, overwork, rage, collapse, or pretend everything is fine. But if you only resist, you add a second layer of suffering on top of the first. The pain of what happened plus the pain of refusing to feel it. Using this kind of darkness for growth doesn't mean you have to be grateful for it. It means you allow it to be what it already is, and you ask better questions inside it. Instead of, why is this happening to me? You experiment with, given that this is happening, what do I need? Who can support me? What is this revealing about what actually matters to me? You won't always get tidy answers, but the questions shift you from pure victimhood into a gentle, grounded sense of agency. A powerful way to work with unchosen darkness is to separate pain from meaning. Pain is the raw experience, the breakup, the diagnosis, the failure, the loss. Meaning is the story you attach to it. I'm unlovable. I'll never recover. This proves I'm a failure. When life throws you into darkness, you may not be able to reduce the pain right away, but you can challenge the meaning. For example, instead of, this breakup means I'm broken, you might reframe, this breakup is showing me the parts of me that are ready to grow. Instead of, I lost everything, maybe, I lost what I had, and now I'm being forced to redesign from the ground up. This isn't toxic positivity, it's narrative responsibility. You become the author of the interpretation, even when you didn't choose the plot twists. Both types of darkness, chosen and unchosen, share one crucial feature. They strip away illusion. Chosen darkness reveals where you've been lying to yourself. Unchosen darkness reveals where life has been lying to you or where your expectations didn't match reality. In chosen darkness, you might realize, I'm staying in this job because I'm scared, not because I'm fulfilled. In unchosen darkness, like sudden unemployment, you might realize, my entire identity was built on my productivity. In both cases, something false dies. That death is painful, but it makes room for something truer. Darkness clarifies priorities. Who shows up for you? What actually matters? What values you want to live by? If you can tolerate the discomfort long enough not to run back to old illusions, you begin to see more clearly than you did in the light. Let's get practical with chosen darkness. If you want to start using it for growth, begin small and specific. Pick one area of avoidance, a feeling, a conversation, a decision, a habit. Then create a contained space to face it. That might mean setting a 15-minute timer to journal uncensored about your resentment, booking a first therapy session, turning your phone off for an evening to simply notice what surfaces, or writing an honest letter you may or may not send. The key is safety and structure. You're not diving into the deep end without a life jacket. You're gradually widening your capacity. Ask yourself 3 questions in that space. What am I feeling? What am I afraid will happen if I fully see this? What tiny action would honor what I'm discovering? Repeat regularly and chosen darkness becomes a training ground instead of a threat. Now, practical tools for the darkness that chooses you. When life blindsides you, your first job is not to grow, it's to stabilize. Think in terms of triage. Body, basics, belonging. Body. Are you sleeping at all? Drinking water? Eating something? Basics. Can you handle essential tasks? Bills, kids, work? Not perfectly, just enough. Belonging. Is there at least one person who knows the truth of what you're going through? Once some stability is in place, you can gently shift toward meaning making. Try this practice. Write down "this should not have happened" and list every reason you feel that way. Then, on a second page, write "given that it did happen" and brainstorm what now needs to change in your boundaries, habits, relationships, or priorities. You're not approving the event. You're reclaiming authorship over your next chapter. It's important to address a common trap: confusing endless suffering with growth. Not all darkness is transformative. Sometimes it's just harmful, and you're allowed to leave. You don't owe anyone your presence in abusive relationships, toxic workplaces, or self-destructive cycles in the name of being strong or spiritual. Using darkness for growth doesn't mean glorifying staying stuck. The question to keep asking is this pain leading to more truth, more freedom, more alignment, or is it just grinding me down? Chosen darkness should expand your sense of self over time, even if it's hard. Unchosen darkness, when worked with skillfully, should eventually birth new boundaries and clarity, not just scars. If the darkness you're in consistently shrinks you, isolates you, and erodes your self-respect, the bravest growth move may be to walk toward the nearest exit and get help. Let's connect both types of darkness to identity. Every time you enter chosen darkness, you're essentially saying, "I'm willing to become someone new." You voluntarily let old versions of yourself die. The people pleaser, the overachiever, the always available friend. In unchosen darkness, life forces that process. You lose a role, a relationship, a dream, and with it the identity attached. Either way, darkness is an identity detox. The question becomes, if I am not my job, my relationship, my reputation, or my past, who am I willing to be now? Sitting in that in-between, no longer who you were, not yet who you're becoming, is uncomfortable, but it's incredibly fertile. If you can resist the urge to rush into a new mask, you'll start to build an identity based on values and truth instead of fear and performance. Let's gather the main threads. There are two key types of darkness in your life. First, the darkness you choose: therapy, honest reflection, solitude, shadow work, brave conversations. The spaces where you voluntarily face what's uncomfortable in service of truth. Second, the darkness that chooses you: breakups, losses, failures, health scares, crises, those seasons you never asked for. You don't control their arrival, but you do influence what they make of you. In both kinds, the work is similar. Feel what's real without drowning in it. Question the stories you attach to your pain, and look for the truths that emerge when illusion falls away. Chosen darkness trains your capacity. Unchosen darkness tests it. Together, they can shape you into someone deeper, kinder, clearer, and more resilient if you're willing to engage rather than only escape. If this conversation resonated with you, don't let it stay as theory. Before you click away, pick one small step. Ask yourself, where can I practice chosen darkness this week? Maybe it's finally starting that journal, booking that therapy consult, or turning off distractions for an honest check-in with yourself. And second, what unchosen darkness am I in right now? And what would stabilizing, not fixing, look like today? Maybe it's texting a friend, drinking a glass of water, paying one bill, or simply admitting, "I'm not okay" out loud. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss future deep dives like this. Share this video with someone who's in a dark season and might need language for what they're experiencing. And in the comments, if you feel comfortable, write one insight you're taking away or one tiny action you're committing to this week.